Hello learners, you are all welcome to the studio of NIOS. I am Dr. Anupriya Pandey and today we are going to discuss about one of the important functions of management, that is directing. Before starting the discussion on directing, let us see what management is. As we all know, management is by and large known as an art of getting things done through and with others. That means we are here to work with certain resources. And if we see those resources can be categorized into two categories. One is human resources and the other is non-human resources. As we can all understand by the term human resources and non-human resources, all the non-human resources are passive resources, whereas all the human resources are active resources, right? Passive resources are the resources which cannot work on their own. They need to be worked. They need someone to move them, to make them work. Whereas active resources are the resources who are actually going to work and they are also going to make work the non-human resources. So, that way if you see, one of the important resource or human resource, we can say that human resource is a very important resource in an organization, because unless this resource, this active resource work, other resources cannot work or may not work. So, important is that you have to make the human resources work, and directing is nothing but related to making these active resources work in the organization, right. So, let us see. As I said, directing is one of the important functions of management. There are 5 important functions: planning, organizing, directing, staffing and controlling. So, planning, we are planning the whole thing, what all we are going to do. Organizing, we are trying to see what all are the different ways to get your work done, and then we staff people, we recruit people, and after recruitment the important part is to induct them in the organization and try to create a kind of relationship and try to create a kind of environment which can help them in working in the organization efficiently and effectively, so that the organizational goal can be achieved and also the personal goal can be achieved. Even goal, if we see, there are 2: personal goal and organizational goal. So, we have to take care of both the goals, organizational goals and personal goal. Unless the personal goal is satisfied, your human resources are not going to be motivated, their morale won't be high and they are not going to work efficiently or effectively. So, your organizational goal can be hampered. So, important here to have and to try to strike a balance between organizational goal and personal goal. So, in that way directing is a very important function. So, let us see, let us proceed further in the session. This lesson is divided into 2 parts or 2 sections, I would say, part 1 and part 2. In part 1 we would discuss, in fact, direction also, the function of direction also has certain elements, and those elements are leading, supervising, motivating and communication. So, therefore, this lecture is also divided into 2 sections. In one section we will talk of leading, motivation and supervision, and the other part we will talk of communication. So, as I said, in part 1 we are going to discuss supervision, motivation and leadership. This session aims at trying to enable you, trying to make you learn the following things: meaning and importance of directing, elements of directing, supervision and its function, need and importance of motivation, different kinds of motivators, meaning and importance of leadership as a managerial function and types of leadership styles. So, let us start what directing is all about. If we categorize people into the organization, or let put it simple, let us make it simple. Since we are talking of management, the people who are managing things are known as manager. So, what are the managers doing in the organization? The manager has to plan, organize and appoint people, as I said you in the beginning, and then describe and illustrate the work and related activities, because there has to be someone, there has to be the manager who needs to describe the people. You have brought people into your organization, they may be new, they may not be very old, so they need to know everything about the organization. What is your organization, what is the goal of the organization, how does this organization work and everything. So, the second function that manager does it, describe and illustrate the work related activities, and then telling people what to do and how to do, what all is to be done, is to be instructed, is to be communicated to them, and how they have to do it, so that the outcome can be maximum. And the other thing that a manager does is issues instruction. On several occasions, maybe in a day, several times, the manager has to issue instructions to the people working in the organization. That is why we say even communication, when we talk of directing, we said out of the elements of directing, 4 elements: leading, motivating, supervising and communication. Because when we are issuing instructions, what we are trying to do, we are trying to communicate them, we are trying to communicate the human resources, the only active resources in the organization, that what is to be done and how is it to be done, so that the maximum output can be there. So, as we are talking of management, now we need to know that there are managers who are going to do management, or there are people who are doing the act of management, and those people are called managers. And what a manager really does is, he has to or she has to plan, organize and appoint people in the organization. As I said, there are various resources in the organization, and one has to take care of that both the resources, all the kinds of resources are there in the organization. As I said, one is human resources and the other is non-human resources. So, non-human resources is there in the business, but important thing is to see, to plan and to appoint human resources in the organization who can work. Describe and illustrate the work and related activities. As I said, that it is very, very important for the managers to be to clearly communicate to the working people, to the subordinates or to the people in the organization, that what all work is to be done, why it is important and how it should be done, so that the maximum output can be there. Third would be tell what to do and how to do. Again, as I said, the people in the organization, the subordinates, need to be told what all work is to be done, what is required to be done and how they should do it for the maximum output. And issues instructions, very important aspect, that every now and then, or I would say even in a day, there are various times when the manager has to issue instructions to the people, and also the people have to communicate to the manager various things. That is why I say that when I am talking of direction, there are 4 important elements of direction. One is leading, motivating, supervising and communicating. So, communication is equally important, I would say, which we are going to discuss in the second session, second part. Now, let us see what is the meaning of directing. Manager cannot get things done unless he assigns specific duties to his subordinates. Number 1, there are various works in the organization. Not a single person and not a single team can perform all the activities, all the works. So, the work has to be assigned. While assigning the work, what is important is to understand who is good at what, because every human being or every individual has got some strengths and some weaknesses. So, an efficient manager would and should recognize the strength and weaknesses of each and every individual, so that it can be used accordingly, so that the maximum of every individual can be brought in. So, the important thing is assigning of work, and before assigning, what is important is to understand the kind of work that we are going to assign needs what kind of skills, and to ensure that that particular skill is there in the subordinate whom I am going to assign the work, and specific duties to his subordinates, and motivates them to perform well. Unless the people in the organization, unless the subordinates are motivated, their performance cannot be really good. As it is said that everybody knows of morale. If the morale is high, the productivity is high. If the morale is low, productivity is low. There are cases, there are instances where can morale be less, still the productivity is high, but it cannot stay or it cannot be there for a longer duration. One point of time, if the morale is not well, if the morale is not high, the productivity will come down. So, it is important for the manager to ensure that the morale of the people working in the organization is really high, and for that they need to be motivated. All these activities that I talked of can be said that they are of directing function. So, we can say that directing is concerned with instructing, guiding, supervising and inspiring people in the organization to achieve its objectives. It is the process of telling people what to do and seeing that they do it in the best possible manner. Again, if we see, just to summarize it again, what direction function is: telling people what is to be done and how to be done, and issuing instructions and orders to subordinates to carry out their assignments as scheduled as per plan. Supervising the activities of the subordinates is the function of directing. Inspiring them to meet the manager's expectations is again the function of directing, and providing leadership is the function of directing. So, if we see that those functions can be again categorized into three parts, that is supervising the activities of the subordinates, inspiring them to meet the manager's expectations, providing leadership. What is the importance of directing? Why we say that it is one of the important function of management? So, the importance is it guides the subordinates to complete the given task properly. By way of directing, we are not trying to push people blindfolded in the swimming pool. What we are trying to equip them with all these skills, with all the talents that is required to dive into the swimming pool and come out properly. So, directing function in a way it guides subordinates to complete the given task properly, and it ensures that whatever skill is required, it is there in the individual, in the subordinates, so that they can perform the task properly and effectively. Then guides the subordinates to complete the given task as per schedule. Working is important, but timely working is even more important. So, the important thing in directing function, and why the directing function is important, is because it guides the subordinates to complete the given task as per schedule, and the work is done accordingly as per time plan. And then to provide necessary motivation to subordinates. As I said, it is highly important that the subordinates who are working in the organization, the people who are working in the organization, they should be motivated. So, directing is a function which can actually motivate people in the organization to work effectively and efficiently, and to complete the work satisfactorily. Again, directing function is very, very important. To maintain discipline in the organization, unless there is discipline, the time plan cannot be maintained, the work cannot be done, completed as per the schedule or as per the plan. So, important is that discipline has to be there, and directing function ensures or maintains discipline in the organization. And then to supervise subordinates, and it involves leadership, because all these things, all these functions, supervising, motivating, we need to have someone, or we need to have the managers who have leadership qualities. So, unless they have leadership qualities, they can really not influence the subordinates in the organization, or not influence the people in the organization to work accordingly the plan or schedule. To coordinate the activities of different departments in an organization, as I said, there may be different departments. There may be purchase department, there may be sale department, there may be finance department, there may be accounts department. So, there are the organization are divided into different departments for the ease of work to be done, and unless there is proper coordination amongst those departments, it becomes very, very difficult to get the work done properly. So, importance of directing is it really coordinates the activities of different departments, and to integrate various activities which is being done in the organization. Thus, we can say that directing is the managerial function of guiding, motivating, leading and supervising the subordinates to accomplish desired objectives. When I say desired objectives, that means, as I said, first function of management is planning. So, when we are planning, what we are trying to do is we are trying to set goals for the organization. And when we are saying directing function, what we are trying to do is we are trying to make sure that work is happening according to the planned thing which is there in the planning. So, elements in directing, as I was discussing it since beginning, that there are 4 important elements in directing. One is supervision, the other is motivation, third is leadership, and fourth is communication. So, all these elements play a very, very important role in doing the function of directing. Let us start with supervision. What is supervision? It is managerial task of observing the subordinates at work to ensure that they are working according to plans and policies of the organization. So, supervision or supervising is nothing but again seeing or ensuring that the people in the organization, they are working as per the schedule. So, what are the functions of supervisor? If we see, all the basic functions of management we can say are the functions of supervisor as well. For instance, ensuring accomplishment of work, specify daily or weekly work schedule, ensuring accomplishment of work, issue necessary instructions, regulate the performance of workers, take remedial action wherever necessary. So, these were the functions of supervision or supervisor. Now, we will talk of motivation, what this motivation is. As I said, motivation is very important to make the subordinates in the organization work, properly. And unless they have the feeling of belongingness, the sense of belongingness to the organization, there cannot be maximum or optimum output in the organization. You just take a small example. Suppose you have a domestic help in your home, right? So, unless that domestic help feels that she or he is a very much part of the family, their work would be affected. If he or she feels that they are part of the family, the type of work and the kind of delivery of the work that they do would make the difference. So, motivation is there. If people in the organization, if the subordinates in the organization, they are motivated, they would have sense of belongingness to the organization, and this sense of belongingness does what? It increases the morale of the organization, of the people of the organization, so that they can work to their maximum ability. So, what is motivation? To attain operational objectives, organizational objectives, and to inspire the workforce. It may lead to job satisfaction, reduction in employees' absenteeism, reduction in employee turnover, and reduction in labor unrest. As I said, why this motivation is important? Because of the reasons which I stated right now. I will repeat, because it provides job satisfaction, it reduces employee absenteeism, it reduces employee turnover, and reduces labor unrest. And if all these things are ensured, it is almost decided that the people, that the workforce in the organization, they are going to work very, very effectively. So, what is the process of motivation? There has to be motive, there has to be objective. Why should people behave in a particular manner? Why should they feel, why should the people of the organization, the subordinate in the organization, they feel that the organization belongs to them? There has to be certain motives, and if there is a particular motive, they behave in a particular manner, and when they behave, the goal is achieved, and when the goal is achieved, the tension is released, and when the tension is released, people are at ease, and again it will lead to high kind of motivation. So, the process of motivation is there has to be motive, there has to be some form of motive, so that it can influence the behavior of the people in the organization, and once the motivated people are working in the organization, it is almost sure that the work is done effectively, and the goal of the organization is met. So, as I said, motives, let us talk of different kind of motivators or different kind of things or elements which motivates people, right. So, motivators can be of various kinds. Then there can be financial and non-financial motivators, there can be positive and negative motivators, and there can be extrinsic and intrinsic motivators. Let us see one by one what all these motivators are. So, if we talk of financial and non-financial motivators, financial motivators, as the term suggests, it means in terms of finances, in terms of money. It is either money or anything which is measurable in terms of money. So, if you are providing the people in the organization either money, finances, or anything which is measurable in terms of money, that means you are trying to provide financial incentives or financial motivators, motivation to the people in the organization. But I said, why do we need to have several kind of motivators? Because every individual is different, every brain is different, and every desire is different. Someone needs a lot of appreciation to be motivated, someone needs to have fear to be motivated. So, every individual is different. So, the first duty of the manager is to see or is to read about the people in the organization, to actually guess about the people in the organization. Who is going to be motivated? How? What motivator will work for different kind of a different set of people in the organization? So, there are people who will be motivated by financial motivators. There may be several people who may not really need financial motivators, but non-financial motivator would work more for them. For example, if somebody is actually highly paid in the organization and he or she is quite satisfied or happy with the kind of remuneration that he or she is getting, but what is actually lacking or what they really want is to get some kind of recognition. They want something which can boost their esteem, self-esteem. So, if the manager can identify that if these kind of people, they want different set of motivators. So, non-financial motivators will come into the picture. So, non-financial motivator can be giving a different position to the people in the organization, providing them a separate cabin which does not involve any finances. We are not going to give any extra finances when we are saying that you will get a separate cabin in the organization. But what? We are trying to meet the need of the people, that yes, we are a little different and higher in position from the other people in the organization. So, those can be non-financial motivators. The other categories can be positive and negative motivators. As I said, there are people who would like to be recognized or appreciated in the organization. So, for them positive motivators would work, and there are people who may not be very much willing or wanting to get recognition or appreciation, but they only work if they have some kind of fear in them, then only they work. So, for them negative motivation will work. So, positive motivation may be recognition and appreciation, and negative motivators would be if there is some kind of fear of demotion or fear of layoff or any kind of fear. If it is there, then maybe the people tend to work. The third category would be extrinsic and intrinsic motivators. Extrinsic motivators are not on the job, so they may be called as financial motivators, whereas intrinsic motivators are the on the job motivators. So, they can be treated as, or they can be called as non-financial motivators. As I said, a person, say for example, Mr. A is given different cabin in the organization, which is glass shield and it has a door, and whereas other people, they are sitting into cubicles. So, Mr. A might feel a little higher or a little different from the rest of the colleagues. So, that might motivate them. So, this kind of motivation can be called as non-financial motivation or intrinsic motivation. What is the importance of motivation? As I am discussing it again and again, that motivated people tend to work more, and when I say they tend to work more, that means maximum or optimum output can be there, which is good for the organization as well as for the employees. So, let us see the importance of motivation. First may be maximum utilization of resources. As I said, resources may be two categories, human resources and non-human resources. So, if the people in the organization, they are motivated, one, they themselves would work more, and the other, they would try to get maximum from the non-human resources which is there in the organization. So, they themselves would work efficiently, and if they are working efficiently, the non-human resources of the organization which is being used by the human resources, those resources will also be working efficiently. That means they can get maximum out of the non-human resources in the organization. Then reduction in grievances and complaints. Nowadays, the important difficulty in the organization is the dissatisfied employees, because if they are dissatisfied, they are stressed, it is shown on the output, it is shown on the work that they are doing. So, if the people are highly motivated, it will reduce the grievances and complaints. Next would be increase morale of employees by increasing sense of belongingness. As I said, unless the people working in the organization, they have a sense of belongingness, that this organization belongs to me, they won't work properly. So, for example, if I am working in ABC company, and if I feel, oh, this company is just it cheats us and it is trying to take maximum work from us, it is not giving us enough money that we require or enough salary that we require, that means I am dissatisfied with the organization, right? And I am not feeling, and so when I will work, I won't feel for the organization, and if I won't feel for the organization, my work won't be that effective as it should be. And what if I feel, if for some reasons, or the people in the organization or manager in the organization makes me feel that company A, B, C belongs to me, company A, B, C belongs to say for example Dr. Anupriya Pandey, that means this is my own company, and if I have that kind of feeling, of course I am going to deliver the best which is in me. I am going to work to the best of my ability, and if I am going to work best of my ability, that means again what I am doing, I am trying to give maximum to the organization. So, motivation increases the morale of employees by increasing sense of belongingness. So, attract competent and best skilled employees, right. So, if people working in the organization, if they are satisfied, the message goes outside the organization also. Why organization is called as a system? Because organization, it does not exist in vacuum. It is working with some kind of supra system. It exists with some external environment. So, the people working in the environment, if they are satisfied, the message goes to the external environment, right. When I say a supra system or external environment, the people who are coming to work with us, the people who are coming to work in the organization is going to come from external environment. If the positive message goes to the external environment, people would be attracted towards that particular company. And if the negative message goes to the external environment, that this company is not taking proper care of its employees, negative message is going, so we won't be able to get good people from the external environment to work with our organization. So, it attracts competent and best skilled employees. Now, let us quickly talk of the other two important elements of directing, that is leadership. Other important element of this direction function, that is leadership. So, leadership is a process of influencing group activities towards the achievement of certain goals and implies the existence of a leader and followers. So, when we talk of leadership, there has to be a leader and there has to be followers who will follow the leader, right. And all these functions are being done by whom? The leader. So, manager in a way they are also performing the role of leaders. Functions of leadership, they may be described as develop teamwork, act as a representative of the work group, act as a counselor of the people at work, time management, proper use of power and secure effectiveness of group effort. So, how leadership and motivation are related if we see? There is direct relationship between leadership and motivation. If there is efficient leadership, the motivation would be high and vice versa. Leadership and morale, if we see, again there is a direct relationship. If leadership is effective, if the leaders are effective, the morale is high and vice versa. So, there may be several styles of leadership, that is autocratic leadership style, democratic leadership styles and laissez-faire leadership style. Let us talk of autocratic leadership style. They may also known as authoritarian leaders and also called as autocratic leaders. Provide clear expectations for what needs to be done, when it should be done and how it should be done. There is also a clear division between the leader and the members. This style of leadership is strongly focused on both command by the leader and the control of the followers. Authoritarian leaders make decisions independently with little or no input from the rest of the group. If we talk of democratic leaders, they are participative leaders who are termed as democratic leaders, typically the most effective leadership style, and it offers guidance to group members, but they also participate in the group and allow input from other group members. Laissez-faire, it is the extreme end, I would say. It is just the opposite of autocratic leadership style. Delegative leadership, this is also known as delegative leadership style. Complete freedom to the subordinates provide, and in this case role of any leader is absent. Everybody is working on their own. So, that is why we say it is the extreme opposite of the autocratic style. So, in these sessions or in this session you have learnt the meaning and importance of directing, elements of directing, needs and importance of motivation, different kinds of motivators and meaning and importance of leadership as a managerial function. I hope this session would help you in understanding the concept. I wish you all the very best and happy learning. Thank you.